river on the ice. And it's not because that you see that the river is frozen, it's what you don't know. And what the problem is, and I learned this in Alaska, is that you may see the ice and it may have been really cold for many days. So you think the ice is safe, right, to travel across, right? But the river's dropped. So there's a gap. There's nothing holding the ice up. And you step on that and you punch right through. I mean, I punched through ice that thick because I saw it. First step on it, right into the river. Okay? Very dangerous. I mean, you may, and in fact, you may go through another layer of ice before you go.
Is ice basically floating on water?
It's being supported by the water. Yeah. And yeah, that's an interesting phenomenon too, because like you'll have this, you can't ski on sometimes. If the ice doesn't form well enough, and you get a heavy snowfall, it'll push the ice down and you'll get cracks of water seeping up and it will just have slush all over the snow.
That's sea ice?
Yeah, no, even on lakes up in Minnesota and Michigan. It's awful. You know, you just can't move on it at all because it's just slush underneath there. So you have to have the ice form good before a heavy snow too, which is important. Okay, but anyway, going back to the river, yes, the river can drop and then it's just not supported by anything and you'll just punch right through. Okay?
Do you rope up? Because once you
Yes.
break through the ice, the current, once you
Yeah,
get down to it, it's
right.
going to move you.
So you would have, yes, this is very important. Being roped up is very important for getting out of the ice. Another thing that we always carry is the throw bag. Okay? Just what you would use in canoeing. This thing can save your life. Like, you know, not everybody's going across the ice together. This isn't like, let's hold hands and do this. So you've got one person that can throw you the bag. All right? Really good thing to pulling yourself out. And by all means, always have your ski poles. Okay? Because you can pull yourself out with the ski poles. You just plant them in and pull yourself out of the ice. If you don't have this, fingernails are just not going to handle it. I mean, you know, you've got to have something in there that you can get a grip. You hear about, you know, people taking their mitten, their wet mitten, and flipping it up on the ice and letting it freeze and pull themselves out by that, you know, like folkloric things, you know. That may work, but you don't want to be in there long. I mean, they literally, on our training, they had a ski into open water to see if we could get out of it. So you've got skis on your backpack, you know, your clothes, and you go, I'm a lemming, I'm skiing into this open, you know, on this ice, I'm going to ski right into the water right here.
That might have been your first game.
Right. And you get out with your ski poles. You get out with your ski poles. Kick your skis off and you start digging in and you pull yourself out.
With your pack?
Yes, with your pack.
And now you're out there in the middle of nowhere with no skis.
Well, your skis float. Your skis will float.
That's good.
Yeah.
A lot of your cross-country skis now won't break away, like the old street skis.
Right.
They pop off. But the
Yes.
others won't.
We're not using skis like the normal person would though. Again, no, we're not. We're using skis that go onto this boot right here.
Oh.
So it has a big binding. It's called a Berwyn binding.
Oh.
Okay, the bindings are totally different. You know, we're not using like just regular cross-country that you couldn't pop off. No, we'd get them off if it meant that or getting out of the water. Yeah. So you have to get out of the water, and that's you know, the river thing is very dangerous. So you don't want to be going together.
Can't you determine, how do you determine before you have, the water has dropped in the river, it's dropped at the edge too.
Yes, sure.
And so how do you determine?
That's actually the best thing, is because you'll go in the first step you take onto it.
Well, wouldn't you try to determine that before you venture out?
Yeah, one would think.
Hang on it or something?
Well, actually, I mean, you know, I've got a lot of experience on ice, and I went up to South Haven, Michigan. I was going to walk out to the harbor, the Black River there, and I punched right through it. My first step. Well, it's actually a blessing in disguise, right?
Sure.
It's better than being out in the middle and punching through.
That's because ice is so different everywhere.
Yeah, and I could actually see it. I was just not thinking. I could actually see the ice. It didn't dawn on me. Look, I can see the thickness of the ice. Hello, you know, there's no water underneath that. But So then the same thing on lakes. You know, you're getting this, a lot of times what I've found, the dangerous area on lakes are where two lakes come together and there's a narrow neck between them because there's going to be a flow of water between those two lakes. You know, you might have two huge lakes and you'd be skiing around and, I mean, people are driving cars on these lakes and everything else, you know, up in the North Country. And then there's a neck between one lake and another lake that looks pretty wide. You know, you may not even know it's not, it's just a little like river or a little current going through there. And it can be really dangerous. Or you'll often see as the ice expands, it'll kind of hummock up right there between the two lakes too, where there'll be bad places in the ice. Ice on the sea, of course, the ice doesn't form until 28 degrees, and the ice is like rubbery. It kind of bounces with you because it's not the same structure now with the salt in it as it is with just the straight ice. And that's a little bit, and you could actually, you know, there's lots of things to get you when you're traveling on ice that you don't see. You may have, if you've got any kind of snow cover at all, then everything is hidden, right? So you may have a crack in the ice that you don't even see, right, when you're on sea ice or something. You get your foot down in there or you actually go through on that because, you know, it's got a mask of snow over the top of it. Mountain travel. Well, a couple things to just talk about glaciers, avalanches, and cornices. Glaciers, of course, everybody knows they're dangerous because of the crevasses and stuff like that. Avalanche, when you start walking on snow that has a 25 to 45 degree angle, okay, now this is that same angle as that's on a Kinsey hut. Remember, as you pile up the Kinsey hut, the snow sloughs off. And if it's too steep of an angle, it'll slough off. If it's not steep enough, it'll just stay on there. So there's an angle between 25 and 45 degrees that the snow will stick, okay? Same thing on the side of a mountain. When you start walking on it and you hear this whoop, it sounds hollow underneath there. That means that there's probably a layer of hoarfrost underneath the layer of snow that you're on, and that's a glide layer. That can come off as just one whole sheet, and that happens in between 25 to 45 degrees. If it's steeper than that, the snow wouldn't stick to the face to build up a layer of snow. If it's shallower than that, then it's not going to slide. Okay, so those are things that you need to know about. You know, going and getting books on avalanches and reading if you put yourself into an avalanche situation. And again, being roped up helps. Of course, those people have those ortho boxes and you know things that they transmit out. Learn how to rescue people by radio transmissions and stuff. And if I went to one place where to a place that had avalanches and I didn't have the money to buy all that stuff, I just streamed a long red, what do I say, nylon webbing behind me. Everybody was streaming like 100 feet or 200 feet of nylon webbing, hoping, and it had gradations on it. So that you're this many feet to me. You know, if you're at 25, you're 25 feet to me. So we would mark the webbing with a Sharpie, 25 feet, 26 feet, you know, all from whatever. So that, you know, certainly if you got into if not everybody got into the avalanche, maybe they would hit that red nylon webbing and be able to just trace you in the snow. Because you don't have long. You've only got a couple of minutes, you know, before it starts to set up again, like the concrete of the Kinsey hut. And, you know, if you haven't got much air around you, it's going to be rough, you know. Plus, it's also collapsing on your lungs, so you can't breathe that way.
Jeff, did you have a satellite phone, or was there any communication that you had with
Yeah.
Forever.
The satellite phones we did not have. They had them the year before, and Motorola, Iridium Solum or whatever, or went out of business, yeah. And so we did not have, we had a Spilsbury radio, which we put together every night. We took the batteries, put them in warm water, dried them off, and put them inside the radio, and waited to hear that crackle, and that's how we communicated. And it would go about 200 or 300 miles, I guess. 300 or 400 miles probably. That radio is how we communicated. But yeah, and that's again, I guess another thing I should have put on here, which is maybe in Murphy's Law and O'Brien's Law. Technology is not to be trusted. okay? Learn how to do it, you know, in more of an old-fashioned way. That means GPS, that means radios, that means telephones, all that stuff. It's great when it works, but if it doesn't work and you're totally dependent upon that, then you're you know, going to have some problems. Cornices. Somebody was talking about getting up on top of a ridge. Well, on the snow earlier. A ridge is a very bad place to be with regard to the snow, because the snow is plastic, and as the prevailing winds will actually make the snow go over a ridge like that. So you could be walking out on what you think is firm ground and punch right through, and there'd be nothing underneath that. That's a cornice. Okay? So, you know, I don't know a lot about mountaineering, but there's some really good books, Freedom of the Hills and stuff like that, that you should read if you, I mean, because there is a lot of dangers in mountaineering with the travel, the navigation and the travel.
Falling's not good.
Not falling off the side of the mountain, no, it's not.
Some people do that, and they have skis or snowboard, and they call it an extreme sport.
That's falling with style.